Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So the energy seems to be shifting, not just in what we saw in Texas's 6th congressional district on May 1st, but across the nation. Republicans are vastly energized. They are turning out at massive numbers, even in these local races. And it parallels what we've seen in history. And with Joe Biden's approval rating possibly taking a little bit of a hit, especially because of the gas crisis, well, it may seem as if Republicans have a massive opportunity to run the table in 2022, to gain 40 House seats, to gain 4 Senate seats, to be on their way to potentially have a filibuster-proof majority at the end of 2024 if they play all of their cards right, which, knowing the Republican Party, is far from a guarantee. But first, I do have to tell you guys about my friends over at My Patriot Supply. People always ask me if I'm ready for the next crisis that's going to hit America. Well, I am. But a lot of people aren't, and they'll suffer when we see things like hyperinflation, gas shortages, a stock market crash, or civil unrest. Friends, don't be a victim. Make sure you have enough emergency food stockpiled today. And there's only one company I recommend, My Patriot Supply. They're America's leading preparedness company, and they're here to help you become self-reliant. My Patriot Supply has been in business for over a dozen years, and they've served millions of families, earning over 39,000 4- and 5-star reviews. Their food is specially packaged to stay fresh up for 25 years, and right now you can save $50 on their 4-week emergency food kit. Their meals are delicious and provide 2,000 calories a day. So go to preparewithredeagle.com and save $50 on a 4-week kit. Don't wait for something bad to happen because we might not get a warning. Go to preparewithredeagle.com. That is preparewithredeagle.com. So Trafalgar finally released a poll, and this is a national approval rating poll. Trafalgar has never released a national approval rating poll before, or even a national poll to my knowledge, but this is their first poll that they've released. Now, people are going to say, well, Trafalgar is not the most accurate poll. They got Michigan off by a couple of points, and I believe Georgia and Arizona by a few as well. And that is true. However, they were on the money in Nevada, Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and a few other battleground states they nailed. I think Texas was another one. And in fact, it was Trafalgar who, Nate Plastic of the election Mafia was slandering for months and months. He almost removed them from 538, but after the election, he bumped their poll up to an A-. So even the election Mafia, who like to sit there and trash Trafalgar nonstop, is really unable to do so at this point, because it seems as if that whole narrative that Trafalgar is a bad poll is collapsing before our very eyes. Now, they came out with this poll showing Biden's approval at 48%, disapproval rounded up also 48%. And this seems a lot more realistic if you take into consideration the fact that we have a very polarized national environment. If you're going to be comparing this to some of the polls we've seen where Biden has like a 63% approval rating and they have a sample that's like D plus 15 or whatever, the truth is the tides are turning. And it's very possible with the electorate in 2022 that Biden's approval rating will be well below 50 with them, because they'll be more energized to turn out in a midterm year, just as Democrats were more energized to turn out in the 2018 election cycle. And before 2018, we saw massive shifts all throughout in 2017, and Republicans had a lot of special elections where they did hold. But in Kansas 4th, they only won by roughly 6 points. That's a massive improvement for the Dems, who lost by 30. Montana at large only won by 5. Won by like 15 or so in 2016. California's 34th didn't really matter because there were no Republicans that reached the runoff. Georgia 6, Tom Price's seat. Democrats had a massive improvement. Now, Karen Handel did outperform Trump, I believe, in the district by 1 or 2 points or so. But keep in mind, this was a unique district because Republicans and Democrats both poured in a lot of money. Their bases were turning out at full capacity, essentially. And South Carolina's 5th, that was like a 25-point Republican seat. It went from that to R+3, R+4. And then early on in 2018, we saw a few special elections out of Pennsylvania, Arizona, and a couple of other places like Ohio, where the Democrats also vastly outperformed. Now, in 2018, the margins in those districts did sort of go back to normal to a certain extent. Democrats still outperformed 2016, but it wasn't by as much. Just like I don't expect the Republicans to win Texas's 6 by 25 points in 2018. Maybe they could win it by 15, but 25 is a ridiculous number. And we're seeing this shift throughout. And could it be because Biden's approval rating is not what they say it is and Trafalgar is right? Potentially. Potentially it is, because we know how the election mafia works. They're out of touch with reality. They move the goalposts constantly. And it's just laughable, the amount of memory holing that they do and that they will do when they're proven wrong time and time again. The same people that said Biden would have a great chance at Ohio and Iowa, but Trump had no chance in places like Wisconsin or Arizona. They said Texas was a toss-up. They laughed at you if Michigan's Senate race was a toss-up, but at the end of the day, it fit the criteria of a toss-up because it was a 1 to 2% or so victory for Peters. And looking throughout, you look at Florida, they said Biden's going to win Florida. They kept moving the goalposts. They kept changing what the target was for the early vote. And Trump comes out of the gate and wins the state by like 4%. Ridiculous margin. They claimed North Carolina was going to flip blue. That didn't happen. I mean, these people were so off the mark in so many places. But the places where they, expected a Trump regression, where it did happen in places like Omaha and places like Alaska, even though it was not nearly as much as they said it was going to be, even in those places, the tide seems to be turning. Omaha's mayoral election just happened recently. The runoff election, if you want to look at this here, the incumbent beat the Democrat, and it was a high turnout election for Omaha compared to even 2017. Turnout was roughly in line, if not a little bit higher. And Gene Stothert, the Republican incumbent, won by roughly 30 points or so. I mean, that's an incredible, incredible win in Omaha. 2017, if you want to look at Omaha, the final election total, Stothert won by just 7. So Republicans vastly outperforming in these places. And it's not just Omaha, because you could say that's an isolated incident. I mean, the mayor's not like some super conservative individual, in the city of Omaha. But still, I mean, if you look at the shift in Nebraska, Omaha, the county of Omaha voted for Biden by 11 points. And a lot of that does include like suburbs and rural areas that are probably more Republican than the city of Omaha. And it had a shift from 2016 by 9 percentage points in Omaha's county there in Douglas County, Nebraska. And to see that massive shift, it's pretty impressive. Same thing in 2021. If you want to look at this right here. Republicans have not held the mayorship in Anchorage, despite Anchorage being one of those, more conservative, larger cities. They haven't held the mayoralship in about half a decade or so, if not a little bit longer than that. But if you want to look at the results from the runoff, the Republican candidate, technically it's nonpartisan, but Dave Bronson is the Republican candidate. In fact, if you look up to here, it basically says his alliance is with the Republican Party. He won the mayoralship in Anchorage. He won it. But looking back at 2018, if you want to look at this, it was a massive victory for Ethan Berkowitz. Ethan Berkowitz is not a Republican. Ethan Berkowitz, I believe, is the Democrat individual in the state of Alaska, in Anchorage, which, again, if you want to look at Alaska, I believe they have the county shifts for Alaska here as well. Anchorage saw shifts in the electoral districts vastly to the left in a lot of these places. Vastly to the left. Not yesterday, no. Because energy matters, turnout matters, and if Republicans are turning out at rates where they're able to win in Anchorage and Omaha in these ridiculous margins, even if it's just for some local offices, that's good news for Republicans. Because Democrats were overperforming in 2017. It's consistency here. Consistency is key. And right now we're seeing consistency with historical trends, and Republicans are super energized to come out and turn out and vote. And, well, as a result, what do you see here? You see them flipping urban and suburban areas that they lost in 2016 and in 2020 for the local offices. That's good for the Republican Party. A lot of people are saying, Alaska's going to be the swing state of the decade. Well, I don't see it here. There's no proof of it here, at least not now, because the energy's on the Republican side. Alaska's going to stay a red state for the foreseeable future. It's just the way it is. Trump might not have been the best fit for Anchorage or Fairbanks or some of these other places like Juneau, but you never know who will come along and who will be. I mean, Alaska is a very big oil state. I mean, Joe Biden is not the biggest friend to oil. And a big oil district that votes Democrat is having a special election that's coming up soon. New Mexico's first congressional district. This is a district with a PVI of D+9. If you look at its past, it has voted heavily for the Democrats. In 2020, it voted heavily for Biden, voted for Biden by 23 points. That was an improvement of Hillary Clinton's 17-point victory in the district back in 2016. Now, Mark Ronchetti, who was the Senate nominee for the Republicans, broke in the low 40s in this district. So do I expect Republicans to win it? Probably not, but they do have a shot to make it close. And if it's within 5 or even within 10 or 12, that shows the energy is shifting. If they win this, it would be a miracle. Trust me, it would be. Because I've looked into the Republican that's running, and he's not like some complete and total rhino. He's actually like a Trump, I wouldn't say like a full-on Trump guy, but it seems like at least a standard, you're one-of-the-mill, 2020 Republican. And if he's able to win in this district, that means Republicans are going to sweep the board in 2022. But again, that's a very, very long ways away. We don't know if he's even going to win, but the election is on June 1st, and that's going to be very telling. The district is 43% Hispanic. It is 3.5% Native American. It is majority minority. If Republicans are maintaining the gains with Hispanics in New Mexico and in Texas and in Florida and Arizona and Nevada, this is the test. Could New Mexico even be remotely competitive in 2024? This is the test. And turnout does matter as well. If Republicans manage to pull off a victory or make it very close with the turnout of I don't know, 55,000, well, people are going to take it more with a grain of salt. Even then it would show the energy shifting. But I mean, if turnout is over 100,000 and Republicans keep it close or keep it within 10, that is very good news. That is a very good sign. I mean, this district is you could say it's a Democrat district. It's a solidly Democrat, a safe Democrat district. And if Republicans are able to keep the energy up like they're doing in Omaha, like they're doing in Anchorage, it's possible. It very well is possible. Now, we will see what happens. Obviously, Omaha, people might say, it's the incumbent mayor. There was an advantage there. Well, Anchorage, it's a little bit different because it was not the incumbent mayor. It was an open seat. And for that to shift Republican the way that it did, it shows the energy is shifting. A lot of people have been saying that lately. Some people I don't think really know what it means, but I'll take this interpretation because this interpretation of the shift of energy is entirely accurate. And we will see what happens in a couple of weeks or so in New Mexico. I will do a live stream that night. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we get closer to it. We'll talk about it after it happens. But if Republicans are energized the way that they are, I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to win this seat, but could it be under 10? Yeah, it might even be under 5. And the chance of victory probably has gone up from 1% of this district to probably 10%. And maybe even a little bit higher than that. We'll have to see what happens. But it's going to be very interesting because if they're able to do very well in these special elections and they have the energy, 2022 is not going to be easy for the Democrats. It's going to be a very long night for them. And just as 2018 was for the Republicans. But at least the Republicans got to at least, flip a few Senate seats that night. And they at least overperformed expectations. With the election mafia just giving Democrats false hope, ironically enough, it's just going to make their lives more miserable come election night. It's pretty funny how that works. But thanks everybody for watching. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.